you need, what you really need. Justice. How we gonna get it? People power. How we gonna get it? People power. How we gonna get it? People power.
When I see you, I see beauty. I see you, you see me. Oh ho ho ho, hey ho, ya ya ya. Inde ya ho, inde ya ho, inde ya, ho 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 ho, hey ho, ya ya ya.
Every time you drive through Los Angeles, walk through Los Angeles, you're walking on my people's burials and villages. This is considered Yagna. And it was a place where people came from all different areas and made it was like a stopover. And so over where Olvera Street is, we were also sold as slaves. When they secularized the missions, we went to the rancherias and they paid us with alcohol. So what happens with alcohol, you get drunk. So if you were paid on Friday, by Saturday you were arrested, or Friday, and then you were sold right here where Olvera Street is as a slave back into the ranches. So they had to deny who they were. And I grew up with a mom who said, don't ever say you're an Indian, you're a Mexican. And I believed that. I trusted my mom, but that was her way of protecting me. So in my 40s, I learned who I truly was and what my indigenous roots are. And so I'm very proud to, to claim both the Chicano community that I came out of and the Tangba community.
All women deserve a life free of all forms of gender violence, domestic and institutional, in the streets and in the workplace. Yes. Working women, girls, trans women, differently abled women, indigenous women, and women of color face the worst aspects of direct institutionalized violence, be it in the form of police brutality, immigration raids, and day-to-day violence in the form of state policies that create and consolidate poverty in our communities. Against all such state, capitalist, and personal violence, we demand that our life and labor be treated with dignity, for they form the basis of this society.
I am speaking on behalf of reproductive justice for all. We stand for reproductive justice for all women, cis and trans. We want complete autonomy over our bodies and full reproductive freedom. We demand free abortion without conditions and affordable health care for all. Irrespective of income, race, or citizenship status, the history of forced sterilization of indigenous women and women of color in this country go hand in hand with the attack on abortion rights. Reproductive justice for us means freedom to choose both whether to have children or to have them in a time that we choose.
Labor rights. Labor rights are women's rights because women's paid labor in the workforce and unpaid labor at home is the basis of wealth in our society. All over the world, millions of women and girls are forced to work for slave wages in dangerous sweatshops and other hell factories that kill thousands every year. In the United States, 46% of union members are women, and a majority of them are women of color. All women, irrespective of citizenship status, sexuality, or race, must have equal pay for equal work, recognition of and resources for the unwaged caring work we do, free universal child care, paid maternity leave, sick leave, paid family leave, and the freedom to organize a fighting union in the workplace. We demand the end to forced labor and the abolition of child labor. As working women who hold up half the sky, we refuse to be divided over the kind of labor we perform, whether skilled or unskilled, formal or informal, sex work, and domestic work.
Hi, my name is Olympia, and I'll be speaking on behalf of full social provisioning. Decades of neoliberal policies have seen the violent dismantling of social provisioning that has affected all women. While our working lives have been made increasingly precarious, social services that might have provided a safety net against such harsh exploitation of labor have either been attacked or removed completely. Against these attacks, we demand an expansive restructuring of the U.S. welfare system to serve the needs of the majority, such as universal health care, robust unemployment and social security benefits, housing, food security, free education for all. Welfare is a human right. We demand that the welfare system work to support our lives rather than shame us when we access such rights.
And I'll be speaking on for an anti-racist and anti-imperialist feminism. Against the open white supremacists in the current government and the far right and anti-Semites they have given confidence to, we stand for an uncompromising and anti-racist and anti-colonial feminism. We strive to end the targeting of Black and brown, Indigenous and Native women and girls by capitalism for racialized and gendered exploitation. Movements such as Black Lives Matter, the struggle against police brutality and mass incarceration for rights of Indigenous women, of Indigenous nations, and the decolonization of Puerto Rico for self-determination by Native women in Hawaii, and island nations in the Pacific colonized by the U.S. The demand for open borders and for immigrants' rights and justice for Palestine are the beating for our hearts of this new feminist movement. We want to dismantle all walls, from prison walls to border walls, from Mexico to Palestine.
This is history. Their future looks so beautiful. Lydia Ponce, AIM SoCal, such an honor to be here. Environmental justice for all. We believe that social inequality and environmental degradation are both due to an economic system that puts profit before people. We demand instead that the earth, our Mother Earth's natural resources be preserved and sustained to enrich our lives and that of our children. The struggle for water protectors and of the water protectors against the Dakota Access Pipeline inspires us. Minnie Wichoni! The emancipation of women and the emancipation of our earth, our planet, must go hand in hand. We leave it up to the men to continue to represent us. We're not going to make it. It's up to us to take up that space as we are maternal and nurturing. Can I hear it up for the Women Nation?
And we were singing, stand up for what's right. Don't walk silently into the night. Take my hand away, see this through. If you fight for me, I'll fight for you. And don't look down when we march downtown for some truth, 'cause you can't complain if you don't find a way to stand up to.
We here do not give enough attention to the women in other countries. And whatever we're going through here in the United States, we know that what they're going through is so much worse than what we are going through. But again, being the United States of America, being the richest and the most powerful country in the world, whatever we can do here, whatever our commitment is to women, we know that we have to always remember our sisters. And I know we have had some great speakers, and we're going to have a few more that will be talking about the condition of women in other countries. And you know, I like to say to people, many people say, gee, I wish I would have been there in the 60s. Well, you know what? We're back, okay? We're back. And in the 60s, we had a cultural revolution. Many things changed after the 60s. You know, women got their voices. We had the environmental movement that started, the Chicano movement, the civil rights movement, the second wave of the women's movement. But we here now, in the time that we're living in, we're going to have another revolution. But this time it's got to be an economic revolution, okay? Economic. We could not live in a world where we have 1% of people here in the United States of America that control 50% of the wealth. That you have 10% of the corporations and these wealthy families that own 90% of the wealth. And as we are walking these streets in Los Angeles, we see people that are homeless. We see women that are homeless. We see children that are homeless. This is wrong. It should not be that way. And so we cannot have a situation where you have these chief executive officers of corporations that their salaries are millions of dollars in 1 year, where families, working families, can't afford to put food on the table and can't pay their rent. People are homeless because they can't pay their rent. This is so wrong. And we do know that there is a way that we can end this. And I want to quote Coretta Scott King. Coretta Scott King said, "We will never have peace in the world until women take power." And I'm going to amend that statement of Coretta's by just saying it in another way. We will never have peace until feminists take power. And when we say, who is a feminist is a person that cares about women's reproductive rights, women's right to abortion, somebody who cares about LGBT rights, who cares about immigrants' rights and labor unions and workers' rights and cares about our environment. That is who a feminist is. And so we know that the men here that are gathered with us here today, that they are also feminists. So let's give them a big applause, okay? We've got to return to the indigenous ways. The indigenous ways of sharing, of cooperation, of taking care of each other. And ending the racism and the misogyny, the homophobia that has really been a poison and a cancer in our country. And so we've got to change our school systems, okay? We've got to teach in kindergarten. Who built the White House and the Congress? It was African slaves, right? Who built this country? It was the Mexicans. Any Mexicans in the house? Mexicans are good people, okay? And the Filipinos and the Asia, the Chinese and Japanese people from India, all the people that built this infrastructure, we've got to start teaching that in our schools so that our children of color will have the respect that they deserve, and our Anglo children will not be poisoned with white supremacy and white privilege. We have to remember that in our world, 75% of the people in our world are people of color. Only 25% are Caucasian. But you know what? The other thing we have to remember, we are one human family, and our human race began in Africa. Remember this to end racism. We are all Africans, okay? We are all Africans of different shades and colors, okay? So let's tell that to David Duke and to number 45. Who's got